Your office bring you donuts? We got donuts. We got donuts.
Billy,
we got donuts.
am I on? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. I don't know if we are. Hang on a sec here. I think there's something there with the index. Hang on here, Jeff.
Can you hear me? I'm not on.
Hey, there we are.
There we go.
Now we're talking to y'all.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, we had our
Denver's
mouths
Top
full.
Talk Radio Show, 9 a.m. Mile High City on this Monday, February 2nd, 2026. Millions of pages of Epstein documents.
Millions.
We might be the only ones not in them.
Yes, and that's surprising some people that know me. Just saying. They've always thought I was that kind
The
of person.
Department of Justice on Friday released the largest batch of Jeffrey Epstein files to date. New York Times reporting a giant tranche, including 3 million more pages of documents and thousands of videos and images. Documents shed new light on the disgraced financier's relationship with several prominent figures, including Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And then Bill wasn't big here, but I guess overseas pictures of
Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew.
Yeah, I got to tell you about this. Just give me a second here. I spend a lot of time watching, especially English media. I get a kick out of it, and there's some things I think they do really well, and there's some things I think they just are crazy about, and so I enjoy it a lot. And once the latest treasure trove of the Epstein files dropped, I saw the picture of Prince Andrew, and I don't really want to describe it, but it is unsettling. He's clothed. So is the young woman that appears to be, to my eyes, underage in the picture. Both are fully clothed. But this picture's not okay. There's nothing about this picture that is okay. And the English media went crazy because this is the former Duke of York that was tossed out. He lost his house. He lost his title. He's been thrown off of his, government largesse. All the checks don't come anymore because of his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. The royals have taken this seriously, and this picture was everywhere over the weekend, and they were pillaring him, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. I don't always enjoy the tabloid sensationalism inside the English media, but yeah, I gladly giggled at this one.
Congress mandated the release in November, and President Trump signed the bill despite initially opposing it. As he has sought to put an end to the accusations and speculation swirling around the case. The latest batch of documents arrived weeks after a December 19th deadline imposed by Congress. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said the White House had nothing to do with vetting the released documents. They had no oversight, and they did not tell his department how to do our review or what to look for and what to redact or not redact, he said. The release was voluminous. Is that how you pronounce that? Voluminous.
Yeah, voluminous. Yep.
The department released 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and some 180,000 images at about 11 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. The pages consist of email chains, text messages, news articles, internal investigation reports, and other material tied to Mr. Epstein, a convicted sex offender. Mr. Blanche said that the department redacted images of every woman in the files except for Maxwell, Mr. Epstein's longtime companion and associate who had been convicted of sex trafficking. We'll get into what these files reveal and more. Now it's time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Monday morning. 40 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 55 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Broomfield police still looking for a suspect named Humberto Vasquez Mosqueda, wanted for a chase in Fort Collins, for a case in Fort Collins. That is, police were led into a chase with him early this morning, which resulted in a crash and a shelter in place. He crashed into the back of a home on Compass Way near Highway 7 and ran. He may be armed. He was last seen wearing a dark green short sleeve shirt with a brown logo or design on it, darker jeans and tennis shoes. He has black hair and a beard and a tattoo on the right side of his neck. HHS Secretary RFK Jr., Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, and other officials announcing a new initiative today, which is set to address the nation's growing mental and addiction crisis. That's a good thing. The federal government shutdown expected to be brief. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. House Speaker Mike Johnson said that the House will hold a vote on funding legislation by tomorrow. No additional charges will be filed as of now in the Epstein investigation after the release of more sickening files tied to him and everyone involved. Deputy AG Todd Blanche told the DOJ they reviewed the files in July. They reviewed the files in July and determined there was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. That's what he said. Nice photo with Zoran Mamdani. He was, when he was a kid, with his mom in a group photo with Epstein, Slick Willie, and Bill Gates. Maybe why he emerged from nowhere to win New York's mayor's race.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog Day, and Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow, so that means the Midwest and the East Coast will no doubt continue to get pounded with winter for 6 more weeks. About 200,000 Core Electric and Xcel customers lost power on Sunday. They say it impacted DIA and other systems, but all have fully recovered. 47 is slamming the Grammy Awards as virtually unwatchable garbage. There was one good minute, that is. Jelly Roll won a Grammy, and here's a few seconds of that.
And God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
Amen. Miracles are possible, even in Hollywood. The 150th annual Westminster Dog Show is taking place at Madison Square Garden today. And I guess in the next few days at Javits Center in Manhattan. More than 3,000 dogs from different breeds from all 50 states and a number of different countries are being showcased and taking part in different competitions. The 3-day show wraps up Tuesday when officials award the overall title of Best in Show. Yada, 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 yada. One of the best comedies ever, Best in Show. The late, great Fred Willard.
Let me ask you something. This may seem like a silly question. If you get a French dog, a Chinese dog, a German dog, do they all bark the same? They all sound the same when they, woof, or is it different language?
Different dogs have different intonations.
And it doesn't matter, the country, the boundaries doesn't make any difference there.
No.
I've seen that movie 100 times, and it is always good, always delivers. Nikola Jokic, he is back, and he is delivering. He had 31 for the Nuggets on Friday. Only took 9 shots last night against OKC, and the Thunder, they beat the Nuggets 121-111. It's officially Super Bowl 60 week. Both teams are in Northern California in the San Francisco area, getting ready for preparation practice and billions of interviews and all types of stuff. But they got to avoid the distractions, both teams. Red Wings in town tonight against the Avalanche, 39 in Lakewood, 42 in the Springs, 40 in Denver. You are waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's a new week, it's a new month, and it's Groundhog Day, and it will kind of feel like Groundhog Day in the sense that the weather continues to repeat itself. Unseasonably warm temperatures will be found here to start the month of February along all of the Front Range and eastern Colorado Plains, as daytime temperatures are going to be climbing well into the middle to upper 50s for Denver, into the low to mid 50s for Colorado Springs, and overnight low temperatures aren't going to be bad at all. with nighttime lows mainly down into the 20s and lower 30s. We will have a small weather system that is going to clip the area with increasingly cloudy skies come Tuesday night and into the day on Wednesday. This could produce clouds, a few widely scattered snow showers for the Front Range and eastern plains of Colorado, through the Palmer Divide, Colorado Springs to Pueblo, out into the eastern plains. Temperatures, though, will only cool on Wednesday to the 40s, nighttime lows 20s. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So, Bill, you remember when they released the Martin Luther King documents? I found this line in the New York Times release on the MLK documents to be enlightening with regards to other documents. It was basically the family said, hey, keep in mind that what you're about to see are just unverified tips, allegations, things like that came out about MLK. And anytime there's more documents released, it seems like the family has to go out there and remind people, hey, remember that? Well, that was kind of part of how Trump responded to the documents that were released around Epstein.
Yeah,
Here's the New York Times. Documents contain unverified tips and allegations about Trump. The files appeared to contain at least 4,500 documents that mention Mr. Trump. One was a summary that officials at the FBI assembled last summer of more than a dozen tips from members of the public involving Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein. It's unclear why the investigators put together the summary, which includes accusations of sexual abuse by Mr. Epstein and Mr. Trump. The emails did not include any corroborating evidence, and the New York Times is not describing the details of the unverified claims. Mr. Trump has denied any wrongdoing in connection with Mr. Epstein. Basically, what it was a spreadsheet, and it lists like people's just tips from calling the 1-800-FBI tip line and going, Donald Trump and I and a number of ghosts out on the Titanic made love one time. And you're like, what? What? And so they didn't follow up because it was clearly given by a crazy person. So you had some of those in there. The files add details about Epstein's relationship with several powerful men. According to released emails, Mr. Epstein drafted notes to and about Mr. Gates in 2013 suggesting he engaged in extramarital sex. A representative, Mr. Gates, called the accusations absolutely absurd and completely false. In one email, Mr. Epstein wrote that he had helped Mr. Gates acquire drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls. He got STDs, apparently.
Yeah, that's been floating around for a while.
He needed to feed Melinda Gates antibiotics, so she didn't get them. But I noticed this was weird about the email was that it was sent to himself. Epstein did. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
in the
there
email?
were a couple of those. Yeah.
Where it's almost like he's drafting an email to be sent later, or he's writing notes, or just blackmailing people. Who knows?
Yeah. Or just, the idea of that I got to keep this for later on. And there were some interesting things. And I briefly ran down some of that list of all the tips on Trump. And again, there are some I found interesting, but the vast majority of them I just blew over the top as if, well, I can't imagine, one, it's true, and two, if it was true, some of the outlandish ones, I'm pretty sure that regardless of politics, they would pull this string because the time in which, some of these tips came in were both under a Democrat administration and a Republican administration. And so I kind of looked at it and went, if the idea of the deep state is true, or if the idea of political lawfare is true, some of these would have been chased down, as ridiculous as they may sound. And the fact that we didn't see anything, it kind of showed me that the vast majority of those are just completely and totally not true at all. And there were some that were, more salacious that I was like, I wonder why. But I wasn't looking at it going, I believe this. This has absolutely happened. I just went, that seems like one that would probably rise up to the top, and he probably would investigate that. But I have no idea whether or not they did anything with it or not. And so I'm not going to cast any judgment on any one of those things inside of that list. But it was interesting.
Files also revealed that Mr. Lutnick, according to the New York Times, planned to visit with Mr. Epstein at his island in 2012, though he had previously said he severed ties with Mr. Epstein around 2005. Mr. Lutnick told the Times on Friday that he couldn't comment about the island visit because he had not seen the latest Epstein documents. In 2013, there was an email exchange between the British billionaire Richard Branson and Mr. Epstein, suggested that the pair had a familiar relationship built at least in part around the interest in women. Multiple messages between Mr. Musk and Mr. Epstein showed the two comparing schedules to find a time to meet in Florida or in the Caribbean between 2012 and 2014. One document detailed a diagram of Mr. Epstein's inner circle, which included Ms. Maxwell and his lawyer and his accountant. This is likely the last major release of Epstein files. Mr. Blanche signaled this batch of documents would be the last major release of the Epstein files. He said that even these documents were unlikely to satisfy the public demand for information about Mr. Epstein. The department is required to submit a report to Congress explaining why it redacted information. Mr. Blanche said it withheld documents with personal identifying information or medical information about Mr. Epstein's victims. It also withheld material depicting child sex abuse and material that depicted death or violence. The department has not yet submitted the report, but Mr. Blanche said that federal officials would do so in due course. Bill, do we take the Epstein files and put them on the shelf with the Kennedy conspiracy at this point?
Oh,
it's never going to be satisfied. There's always going to be a little bit more that leaks out years from now, but it just goes on as a conversation topic. I mean, there's no one being prosecuted here.
I think what'll happen is it's going to be a little bit different than things like the Kennedy assassination. It's going to be something that's going to come back to the fact that no one significantly was prosecuted because, they arrested Epstein once and then he got a real sweetheart deal in Florida. And then the second time that he was arrested, he killed himself, and you guys can do with what you want as to whether or not you think he was murdered or killed, but we'll leave that for a different discussion. Not necessarily germane at this point. You have Maxwell being brought up on charges and spending time in prison, even though it's a real softy prison right now, where she gets to play with puppies and things. After that, we got nothing. And I think that's the problem that the public has, that rather than with JFK, was there a second shooter? What do we see on the grassy knoll? We have information of people that reasonably we can come to a conclusion that were involved in abuse and or trafficking of young women. And these women have named names and pointed out faces. And both political parties have done nothing as far as any meaningful prosecution. And for me, this is going to be one of those files and binders we'll put on the shelf and say, you don't believe me that there's a uniparty? Let me tell you the story of Jeffrey Epstein and how nobody that was involved in this was ever brought to justice. I think that's where it will go, is it will be a confirmation of those in power play by a different set of rules than you or I or anybody else listening to the Jeff and Bill show.
And it's not just here. It's in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's in finance and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So, there's an aspect of this where you feel like people are getting away with something.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's an aspect that it's like, I'm going to try to ruin your career if you ever send an email to the dude. Right? And there's this like political jockeying to try to destroy you if you ever talk to the guy, because I can't.
Yeah.
Because he becomes this like radioactive substance.
Guilt by association.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to all those people out there. I mean, you had lots of people saying that Trump was a pedophile and that's going to be revealed in all this. That wasn't revealed in this. That was absolutely not revealed in this. So, are those people ready to move on from claiming that Trump had anything to do with any of this? It's not in the files. All you have are kind of weird, salacious reporting to a FBI tip line. Should there be other people prosecuted? Would you like to see Bill Gates prosecuted? Because he did seem to have a relationship, or do you think Jeffrey Epstein is just making this up about Bill Gates? Would love to hear from you as you have had the weekend to see what's come out of these documents. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Are you satisfied with the release? Are we ready to move on? 720-819-5115. Or do you think that there was stuff hidden that we'll never actually see, and that real perpetrators escaped justice? 303-696-1971. All right, let's talk Ashbaugh Center for Therapy. If pain's slowing you down, you deserve care that's focused on you, not a crowded physical therapy clinic where you bounce between clinicians. Bill, I hated this aspect of doing physical therapy with somebody else. I felt like I was in a room with lots of other people and doing weird stretches and just people looking at my old fat body doing weird stretches. I just thought it was weird to be out there with everybody else, with a doctor. Why not have personal privacy? And that's what Ashbaugh Center for Therapy does. Bill, tell them
Yeah, they really do. And this is the thing. With Ashbaugh Center for Therapy, they have actually done the math. Now, they proudly accept Medicare and other insurances as well, because what they've done is they sat down and they did the old actuarial table, where most of those physical therapy houses, it is about churn. It's about total numbers, that they figured out the math is more is better. So you come in, you meet with someone for a couple of minutes, they give you a series of exercises to go do in a public room, and then maybe they put you down on a table in front of everybody else, and then they manipulate you. Not at Ashbaugh Center for Therapy. They figured out that more time with the patients not only it becomes better outcomes, but also increases profitability. That they are able to get better outcomes because of spending more time with their clients and making it more personal. It's a conversation about what you need. It's not just a series of exercises. They say, hey, do 10 of these and then come back next week. They walk you through the exercises, and it's hands-on manual therapy. That approach is key in how they are going to treat you. It's not just giving you a list and a couple of papers and come back in and we'll check in next week and see how you're doing. This is making sure that everything is done properly. They make sure that all the necessary physical therapy is done in a private setting and focused on you. You don't have the person bouncing from 2 to 3 to 4 different patients and hoping that you're doing everything right. They're there with you each and every step. No distractions, just the personalized care designed to help you stay independent and active. If you've had that experience at physical therapy, or you've had a friend that has, and they're just like, I felt like I was just going to a large gym and they were just running me through as if I was a next person in the conveyor belt at the grocery store and they were just scanning the products. That's not what Ashbaugh does. You need to reach out to them today at 303-756-3388, 303-756-3388. And Jeff has got that website for us.
AshbaughPT.com, AshbaughPT.com, AshbaughPT.com. Ashbaugh Center for Therapy, private, personable, and focused on you. All right, we'll get to phone calls next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the Epstein file release and how it can become almost this like toxic nuclear football that anybody around, anyone associated with, you can like politically target as a result of it. You want an example, Bill? You ready for this?
Yeah.
You ready for this? Who was one of Mikey Johnston's top donors?
I don't know.
A guy named Reid Hoffman.
Yeah.
Billionaire LinkedIn founder.
Yeah.
Also in the Epstein files.
Ooh. Did you see?
Mayor Mikey. It's all connected.
Did you see the owner of the Giants mentioned hundreds of times in the Epstein files? Hundreds. And he owns an NFL team.
There you go. So is it just kind of a nuclear reactor that you can't even be close to and everyone's going to use it to go after their political opponents? Or were there real crimes that are not being prosecuted? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe you have real serious crimes that are not being prosecuted, and at the same time, political opponents are going to go after each other.
No, my friend, I really love your radioactive kind of analogy there, because the first thing that popped into my mind is, are these Epstein files in some ways a Chernobyl meltdown event? And what I mean by that is everything contained therein is so toxic to those involved. The only thing to do is set up a safe perimeter, and it's a no-go zone. You can't go in. So we're not going to prosecute anybody. Nobody's going to be held responsible. We're going to give you the files, but that's all because everybody inside is so toxic at this point. We're going to protect them by keeping all the riffraff, you and I and the listeners, out.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Interesting. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Ryan rocks. Good morning, Ryan. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man. How are you?
I just wanted to not too bad, but I just wanted to point out, like, I'm not an advocate for Jeffrey Epstein, and I want to get to the bottom of it as much as anybody else, but I do actually really recommend going back and watching the interview with Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, because it's, like, extremely revealing and interesting. So highly recommend it. But in that interview, they talk about Jeffrey Epstein's first stint, or I guess maybe not his first, maybe it was his first, I'm not sure, but it was a 13-month sentence in 2008. And I'm not sure if you know or if listeners know, but Jeffrey Epstein was widely regarded as a wealthy financier and somebody who was almost like a prodigy in finance, right? He helped ultra-high net worth individuals with just financial advice his whole life. That's how he got rich. But I found it interesting that in this interview, they go on to talk about in 2008, he had his own phone in prison or jail, whatever, and he was making direct calls to the Treasury Department during the financial collapse.
Oh,
like, assisting them, helping them.
Yeah, and he had a hall pass. He could leave prison anytime he wanted. He had a hall pass that he could leave during the day and go to his office, and then he just had to show up within a reasonable amount of time at night to then sleepy there. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, the idea that was prison. Come on, yeah.
Exactly, and so my point here is, this guy's obvious. He's got to be tied into with the CIA, Mossad, other things, most likely, right? Like, nobody knows for sure, but you got to be able to connect the dots here. So as much as we all want answers, this is probably our government doing bad things, and they've done bad things forever. And too much information got out about this guy, too much stuff leaked, too much just in general got out. And it's a massive F-up by essentially our government, right? So I want answers. I've just come to the realization that I'm never going to get what I want. And I think everybody else probably should too.
Now, Ryan, one of the things that you mentioned there was the idea of him being tied in with Israel and Mossad. And I have seen some of that inside of the coverage and inside some of the lists. One of the things that I don't think made its rounds as much here in America as it did throughout Europe and especially England, where there are some pretty solid, again, just from what I saw in the reporting, I didn't read them myself yet, I haven't gotten there yet, that I have seen some fairly solid reporting that the KGB was doing some funding of Jeffrey Epstein and trading some money for information. Now, I don't see any details on what and where, but that was running wild over the weekend in England and other parts of Europe. The fact that, that in order to play nice, he was kind of selling information to a lot of different people because people were paying for the information. Now, Ryan, the question I'm going to where I'm going with this is, if you and I, and maybe even Jeff will agree that we'll never get the full release of the Epstein files, what does that do to our opinion and perception of those in power? And I mean, regardless of political party, but both parties at one time or another have told us we need to release all the files. And I think you and I agree we're never going to see them all. What does that do to your opinion about those people that told us, hey, we got to release them and then see what happens?
I just think in general, over the last 10 years, the federal government's been discredited on multiple levels, including COVID and other things, and this just compounds on top of that, right? So I don't know that there will ever be a level of trust out there again for the federal government, like there was prior to, let's say, before Trump came onto the scene. So, it is what it is. I hear a lot of lefties out there crying about, the Epstein files, but you just had a president who could have maybe shown you more transparency, and everybody's lips were sealed. Nobody cared. All swept under the rug. No problem. So I don't know. It doesn't look good on anybody.
I also I agree with you, Ryan, that the distrust in government is at probably an all-time high, and rightfully so. When you look at COVID, when you look at the Minnesota fraud, when you look at people connected into Epstein files, yeah, there's a lot of distrust there. But there's also an important component to this, which is just the functionality of releasing files. This was a headline from the New York Times. The government published dozens of nude photos in the Epstein files, which showed young women and teenagers with their faces visible. And this was in part just because of the fact that the government was rushing to release all these files. You have victims, you have family members, angry and frustrated, didn't want some of these files out. How do you navigate both their privacy plus the need for the public to know what's going on? And is it an actual crime?
Sure.
Like, for instance, Bill Gates, very sleazy, right? I don't know the ages of the Russian girls. Clearly from this document, seemed to have gotten an STD. Melinda Gates wants nothing to do with the guy. Is there a crime? Is there a crime, or do we just take Bill Gates and a 22-year-old Russian and release it out on there, and now the girl and the victim and all that stuff's there? Does the public have the right to know that?
Probably not. I mean, that was an email from Jeffrey Epstein to himself. Did you hear about the allegations of the first George Bush? Because they're probably the most heinous out of all the most recent dumps on the Epstein files. I mean, things that I cannot even speak of on the radio right now. And
Walker,
if you haven't seen it, go look at it.
HW?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The original.
Yeah, I haven't run across those.
I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, I haven't run across those.
Like the most boring guy out there.
Your mind will be blown by what you read. I can't even talk about it on your show.
Wow.
It's so abhorrent.
Well,
your head will spin.
Oh, well, Ryan, thanks for the phone call. I've got some homework. All right, we can do that. We'll go take a look. Appreciate that.
Be careful what you type in. I don't know what's out there.
Yeah, I didn't run across any of that this weekend. That's interesting.
And I'm just being a philosophy major here, right?
Please.
So I'm exploring aspects of this issue that I find fascinating. One being, okay, well, what about the victims that don't want some of this out? What about if they're not even victims? What if they're of age, just 22, 23? Yeah, maybe some of these guys are total sleazebags, but is there a public right to know there? If Bill Gates is having an affair with a Russian who's in her mid-20s?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there is, but I found compelling in the midst of all this, family members going, this is not good for us. The way this was done, the fact it was rushed, the fact that our images are out there now, they're not happy.
Yeah, and in part, I believe they're unhappy because okay, I was going to say stories, but I'm not certain that that's fair, a fair word to use in this one. I'm going to say their testimony so far, they're looking at it as just what we talked about last segment, not being honored or taken seriously. That nobody who they have pointed a finger at saying, this is a person that abused me, has been held accountable outside of Epstein and Maxwell. Nobody else. And the ladies that we've seen at a press conference just a couple of weeks ago said, we will name names. We will be happy to give you an entire list. In fact, you have names. And nothing has moved forward under either administration, Trump or Biden. And I think that becomes a problem. I think that's the part that is going to be the largest black mark going forward is you have testimony from the victims, and there seems to be no investigation or even attempt to criminally prosecute the people that they say did this to them.
Fascinating. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Folks, let's talk the gun room. Absolutely love this company. Getting to work with Wayne has been fantastic. There are some businesses in Colorado that aren't just stores. They're institutions. That's the gun room in Lakewood being one of them. They've been serving Denver since 1982, and when you step inside, you immediately know this isn't a big box operation. It's real. Wood counters, knowledgeable people, a shop built on experience, responsibility, and respect for the Second Amendment. I love everything about this store. The gun room buys, sells, and consigns everything from antique firearms to modern tactical and hunting rifles. They even help families navigate gun collections after losing a loved one, something that requires trust and integrity. Wayne's the owner, and I promise he will take great care of you. He's a man of deep faith. He loves this country. He's awesome. With over 1,000 firearms in stock, inventory changing every day, this is a place to shop, especially with new restrictive laws coming down the road. Support a local, family-owned Colorado business. Support freedom. Visit denvergunroom.com or call 303-237-1300, 303-237-1300, denvergunroom.com. That's the gun room in Lakewood. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Bill, I think we're at a point where Americans are going to shrug and move on with regards to the Epstein files. It's unfortunate in some capacities because I think some people escaped genuine prosecution. But, you know, if I went to Mayor Mike Johnston and said, Mayor Mikey, give back the money you got from Reid Hoffman, the venture capitalist founder of LinkedIn that you took, and he's all throughout these Epstein files, Mayor Mikey's just going to shrug and move on.
Yeah, and the thing is that if someone just facetiously would say the same thing about Donald Trump because he's all through it as well, again, would that hold true? I mean, would it hold true? Bill Gates? Would it hold true? Howard Lutnick? That was an interesting one. You see the thing about Lutnick where he said he hadn't talked to Epstein since like 2005, and then, oh, whoopsies, a little bit after that, there are some conversations there.
So does it just become so, as you mentioned, politically toxic that at this point both sides can't clearly use it because it comes back to hammer them on either side, so they just go, all right, move on.
This is the one where I hate to say it, but it's the idea of it was called a Mexican standoff, and now I've seen it called an assassin standoff, where everybody's standing around pointing guns at each other. I think that's where we are.
That's a daily occurrence for the Republican Party in Colorado.
It is. Yeah, and becoming an occurrence down with the Democrats as well. Yeah. So I think that's where we are. That we are at a point where there are so many people's names and so many people of power that are either directly or tangentially involved. And involved, I'm using that in the way of not necessarily abusing the girls, but involved in Epstein's life. That's where I'm going. That there's so many, you can't do anything about it.
Who do you think made the right decision here, Lauren Boebert or Donald Trump, to release these? Because I'm a little torn on either side of this, right? In many ways, the release is just so out there. Like, we went and looked up the George W. or H.W. Bush stuff, and it said he consumed a baby.
Yeah,
like, you're like,
way outside. What? Yeah.
What? Like that? Like, I've read that guy's biography. Like, he was really concerned about making sure he got you thank you notes after he spoke at your event.
I can't see the baby eating thing. And I think that's part of it.
Part of me looks at Trump and goes, yeah, I understand releasing this is kind of a fruitless effort because it's just so full of just outlandish stuff. But the part of me also looks at what Lauren Boebert did, saying we've got to get justice for these girls. I go, yes, to both of them. I go, yes, we need justice for these people. But at the same time, we've just thrown a bunch of stuff into the public square that's just wildly, full of lies and error. So, how do you look at all this?
I support Boebert a heck of a lot more than I support Trump, because I do feel that hiding the information is never going to be a positive rather than making it public.
Even if it's fake, even if it's just clearly wrong?
Yeah, in some
George
ways.
H.W. Bush eating babies?
Well, here's part of it is at least UI and everybody else now has the information and can judge it as to whether or not there's anything else backing it up or factual. However, what I'll say is if the government doesn't want to release it, and then someone says, psst, hey, you know what's in that file they don't want to release, you give a lot more credence to the fact that Bush is a baby eater, which, again, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form. And I do think that the problem contained is that Lauren, her heart and her morals in the right place because she wants justice for these victims. And that's where I think that as Americans, and I mean everyone, we are falling down and we are missing our duty to prosecute the people that took advantage of these young women. They're asking for prosecutions. We as a country should be strong enough to do that for them. We would want that to be done for anybody that's taking advantage of any woman that is in your life, your mother, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, someone in your social circle, except that person pisses you off in the break room. Let's forget that. But I'm being facetious. But the idea being that we should be able to be honest enough with ourselves to deal with it that way. And that's why I give Lauren credit on this one. And the idea of trying to hide it on both sides, because again, I do not forget that the Biden administration had all of these files and had all of the opportunity to release it as well. And they chose not to. So I'm not sitting here saying Trump's trying to cover his rear end. I'm just saying those in power are trying to cover their rear end, and I applaud Boebert for wanting to get justice for the victims. But I don't think we are a country that has the spine to do it.
Well, at this point, it seems like the only way to do it would be via the testimony of Maxwell.
Could be.
mean, we have all the files, so if the only way to go after somebody else is with the testimony of Maxwell.
Could be, but if we have millions and millions of documents, is there enough of a paper trail that we could back end this, meaning that reverse engineer
I don't see anybody saying that. I don't see the media reporting. You don't have a headline going from the New York Times that's like, now we got him. Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution of Bill Clinton. It's not clear.
Yeah,
from all this
and
that you
we're
have.
Still missing tons of the files as well, so we don't know all of that, and then the stuff that's been redacted. And so that's what bothers me, is that not feeling that there's enough in these to go after anybody. And if there wasn't enough to go after anybody other than Maxwell, what are we so mad about? Because if she's the only one that can be held responsible, we don't prosecute the people. And I don't know. I'm just also saying that maybe Sean Combs has got some issues about an appeal as well.
Yeah,
if that's all it is.
Interesting. All right, from city streets to mountain trails, your gear should go everywhere life takes you. That's why at Modern Rugged Leather, every bag is handcrafted from premium, responsibly sourced leather. Designed to look sharp, last long, and tell a story of its own. Each stitch, buckle, and strap reflects timeless craftsmanship and is backed by a lifetime warranty, because quality shouldn't quit when the adventure begins. Whether it's the boardroom or the back roads, Modern Rugged Leather helps you carry confidence every step of the way. Modern Rugged Leather, modern style, timeless durability, backed for life. Life takes you places. Make sure your gear keeps up. Shop the full collection and find yours today at modernrugged.com. Again, that's modernrugged.com. All right, Bill, I wanted to get to this. It's late in the show, but still important. You can go to x.com/Jeff Hunt if you want to see the whole thing. I went through the 24-page report of the Canadian government regarding Colorado's wolf restoration, they call it. Wolf restoration. Here's what I discovered. Okay, you ready? Like you watch the Grammys to inform us. I read government reports to inform you. Bottom line, the caribou population up in northern Canada was being devastated, right? They write this. Woodland caribou populations have declined from about 40,000 in the 1900s to about 17,000 individuals today. They call it an extirpation, which is basically local extinction. And they blame the wolves for it. So they're like, man, we've got way too many wolves. They write, the estimated population of wolves in British Columbia between 6,000 and 9,800 wolves up there. Meanwhile, caribou population going down. So they were, right now, as Colorado approached them, in, quote, reduction activities. Predator reduction activities. They were up there shooting the wolves. Predator reduction activities. I'm going to remember that.
I like that.
Then Colorado shows up. It's like, hey, we need wolves. And they're like, yeah, we got some wolves to give you. And they went about giving them not the old, sick, weak wolves, but wolves between 1 and 3 years old with their canine teeth still intact. Basically, the healthiest, most vicious wolves you could. Put them on airplanes, flew them down here, dropped them off. They did do, though, an Indian ceremony. And I have a picture there of a tranked wolf with some Indians standing over him, doing a Indian ceremony.
Didn't call him down, though. Oddly. Now, this is a weird one. And just while you were going through that example, it's my mind is not wired like most, and so it goes in weird directions. And when you were sitting there talking about taking those horrible, really aggressive and the most predatory wolves out of Canada, and I'm doing that on purpose because it annoys them. Now, I think, one, it's funny that the U.S. came knocking, knock, 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 hello, and they open the door. Hey, what's up, hey? And they're like, yeah, can we have some wolves? They go, nah, do I have some wolves for you? I'm happy to help you out. And they ship us all the bad ones. It reminded me of when Trump was claiming to ship the TDA bad gang members to the El Salvador prison. That's what I thought. I'm like, hey,
We're
I
gonna
think
take
I've
them.
heard this before.
That's
Take the really
exactly
worst
right.
of the worst, the most aggressive, and put them somewhere else in another country. Huh. I think I've heard this somewhere before. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. They did it to us before we did it to them. That's fantastic.
Here's another aspect of this that I just found wild. Okay.
Yeah, tell me.
They admit growing opposition from farming and ranching communities in the report.
Yeah.
And then they go, but they write, British Columbia and Colorado remained strong, and highlighted the resilience and dedication of the people involved in this ambitious conservation effort. Bottom line, we ignored it.
Yeah, basically what they're saying is, la 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 la, I'm not listening, la 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 la. If that doesn't perfectly outline what we've assumed about this program, nice job, my friend.
Yep, it's
Nice
all
job.
there. Go to x.com/Jeff. It's only
Oh, my
24
God.
pages. It's an interesting read.
That's exactly what Jeff has been saying.
All right, we will continue with a big announcement tomorrow as well. You're not going to want to miss it. So be sure to tune in. You're listening to Denver's top talk radio show, The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 CAN US. We got you through Monday morning. Good luck the rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow.